My name is Evan Snow. I am a very proud arts advocate, community builder, and creative entrepreneur who didn't turn the microphone on. Born and raised in Broward County. But a few years ago, I became infinitely passionate about pursuing my passions within the arts and culture on my goal of living my own heaven on earth. But before that, I was a baby, and fortunately, I was born to some parents who loved helping people and instilled those genes in me, and they developed that love and how they initially met through landmark training and landmark education. And I'd like to thank my parents, my father being here, for instilling those genes about caring for other people and our greater community as a whole. But as I graduated and kind of got into the real world, fortunately, I developed my own loves and my own genes and my own DNA for helping people, and I found a love for TED Talks. And I just was getting so much inspiration from these TED Talks as I was in my 20s and kind of working my first couple jobs that I couldn't get enough of them. And then I was working as a recruiter, wasn't really loving it, and in comes a gentleman by the name of Gary Vaynerchuk in my ears and in my life, who was preaching at this time, don't do stuff you hate. You could put your head down, grind for 3 years, you wake up, you're still 33 years old, and I happen to be 30 years old at that time. And at this time, I was developing a love for food, going to chef-inspired restaurants, craft food, farm to table, and really taking in experiences like food tastings and the South Beach Food and Wine Festival. And my friends would say, you go to all these great restaurants, but what are you going to do with it? And they would say, I like the places that Snow stops at. So I started Snow Stops Food Blog. And long story short, food blogging got me invited to go to events. Going to events made me realize I could do these events too. And then I discovered an event that ultimately changed my life. It was a Creative Mornings talk where the speaker was preaching to be genuine, be authentic, and pursue your passions. And at this time, I was really just nurturing this love of food and exploration and discovering new things, and it was also new to me, and I fell in love with this Creative Morning series that I really wanted to take it further. So I kept exploring my passions, and it took me to Memphis, Tennessee, to the World Championship Barbecue Festival, where I discovered something called Choose 901, a social movement aimed to really help Memphis, which is unfortunately a great city, a lot of history, but has 2 of the 5 worst neighborhoods in the country, and they needed a lot of help. And at this time, our community needed a lot of help in Broward County within the arts and culture. I was going around with my cell phone, I was highlighting a lot of artists, I was meeting a lot of artists, I was showing my friends just with Facebook, all this cool stuff was going on, but they kept saying, what are you going to do with it? So with the inspiration from seeing the impact and power of this Choose 901 movement, I came back from that trip and started Choose 954 as a social movement to cultivate culture and community in my native home county of Broward County in an effort to make it a better place to live and not just a better place to vacation, because we live here. So I was starting to take it a little bit more serious and really starting to show a little bit more love to artists, just not in Fort Lauderdale, but all throughout the county. And fortunately, I met one of the most resourceful, ingenious, altruistic, creative people in the world, my soon-to-be future business partner, Mr. Andrew Martineau, a.k.a. the Creative Altruist. And he instilled this gene in me or unlocked this gene in me that I didn't know existed, called altruism, doing good without having your hand out, hoping and expecting anything in return, because a lot of these artists that we were supporting didn't have the means or resources to do better. So we came up with an initiative to support them. We didn't have an Art Basel in Fort Lauderdale. We wanted to create something unique. So we came up with Art Fort Lauderdale, the art fair on the water, the only art fair in the world that takes place inside of mansions that people can only get to on a boat, and the houses happen to be for sale, so it's the most glorified open house showcase in the world. Our goal when we set out was to put Fort Lauderdale on the map as an international destination to view and interact with art. And as evidence, as you can see here, by press articles in Forbes, Architectural Digest, NPR, and the like, we succeeded in achieving that goal, even if we didn't become Art Basel. But because we were doing art inside of residential homes that were for sale, then the commercial real estate developers and brokers asked us to do art in their vacant commercial spaces. So we put our thinking caps on, and we came up with another initiative called Zero Empty Spaces, where we would take vacant storefronts and make affordable working artist studios. This has since led to 28, and now actually 29, we just got the keys today, working artist studios in the last 4 years across 3 states. We've had 400 artists come through the program, started on Las Olas, and changed hundreds of artists' lives thousands of times over. I never could have imagined when I set out with my cell phone to cover and support artists that I'd be actually putting artists in Burberry stores next to Louis Vuittons in malls. And that's really what happens when you step outside your comfort zone and pursue your passions and can make them something bigger. And lo and behold, I'm supporting a lot of artists. Artists come to me and they say, hey, we want to put sculptures on top of rocks and put them in the ocean in the form of mermaids. I say, I don't know what that means. They showed me a documentary. It's called Chasing Coral. Strongly recommend you watch it. It was my aha moment. It got me into this work. And then we've since put 105 of these reefs off the coast of Southeast Florida to provide much-needed coral restoration. But fortunately, as you can see, I was doing a lot of stuff, a lot of projects. I was burning myself out. Fortunately, the reef projects took us to Tulum, Mexico, to work on some projects there. I'm shooting the sunrise one morning with my nonprofit partner, and she goes to explore the lighthouse ruins. And lo and behold, her friend, who I just met, turned to me. We had 20, 30 minutes to kill. He says the words that changed my life. You want to do some yoga? I say, sure. And the portal opened right in front of me, and I just jumped right in. And it really came at a great time. This was November 2020. I had just moved to a beautiful brand new building in downtown Fort Lauderdale called Society Las Olas that had a 25th floor green space with a wraparound view, and the universe decided to put this beautiful soul in the building to offer free yoga offerings. And I had known this young woman, Chloe Ravel, a.k.a. the Gemini Rising, from work we had done before in the arts districts. And because it was there in the building and it was so accessible, and I literally just went up the elevator and I had free yoga, I fortunately found the power of mindfulness, breath work, and a lot of balance and grounding that I needed in my life, and I feel a lot of people need in their lives. So now that I've had a lot of experiences and I've unlocked my hidden potential, my true calling, and made a couple choices that helped me step outside of my comfort zone, I'm now starting to speak and share, and I just published my first book called Learning to Choose to help other people unlock their hidden potential so that they could live their best life and be able to impact their life, their community, or potentially the art world or even beyond by making a few series of choices, because everybody has a hidden potential deep down inside of them that they just need to make a couple choices to unlock. And fortunately, I was able to do that. I find this work very rewarding and fulfilling, taking steps closer to heaven on earth. I appreciate you guys listening and being here today.